Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants of this closing event, especially those who've lasted all the time, who've been here the entire Congress. This year's topic, I'm sure you're all aware of. Prevention pays off on the economics of crime prevention. It is my impression that the major topic has come across. What do I mean by major topic? I mean large congresses and conferences give themselves great topics, great headlines. Sometimes also small-scale congresses do so, which is not to say that all those involved in it need to be necessarily interested in it, because there's always sub-aspects to any big topic which also have a meaning that might not be familiar to each and every one. So we sometimes debated whether economics might not be something which, to some of the things we've discussed and seen and controversially debated, which might have to be yet reviewed another time. Nevertheless, we wanted to make it a topic, to pursue it further. But what lies at the bottom of all this is something very good. And that is that all of you came here in order to do what all of you are interested in and committed to. And that is the area of early prevention from the time before birth, essentially, and also prevention in early childhood, through kindergarten, school, youth institutions, sports, and then slowly towards the youth office, youth support, police forces, criminal system, penalty system, and moving on from there. Or putting it in a different terminology, primary, secondary, tertiary prevention. All of them play a role, and I'm very happy that this is so. And therefore, we should never let the key topic be the one single overruling one. Why am I saying that I think the key topic has come across well? Well, there's no scientific foundation to it. The only thing is that I haven't received any complaints in writing or also orally, but there were some critical reviews, some critical remarks I heard from the chief police officers of the various länder and also some police forces who did ask very critical questions of our expert and our author of the report, which, however, he did handle and answer in a very good way. The question of cost and benefit was discussed from a great many facets and angles, and I'd like to point out one economic aspect which I'm sure affects all of you. Most of you are volunteers working sometimes many hours and also doing work that actually costs you money, which does have an economic value, which, however, is not, say, reimbursed in economic terms. And I'm very pleased to be able to suspect that many of you still do this because they have the internal commitment and conviction that it's still worth its while, and that therefore at the next Prevention Congress we can talk about more successes, but maybe also some setbacks. I did a very simple check, and that is, I asked myself where econometric, and other types of cost-benefit analyses and considerations appear beyond Mr. Thompson's report. So I looked at the lectures, the various forums and theme boxes, as they were called, and simply looked at where do those who fill the agenda, so to speak, pick up this topic. And what came out is a wild mix, and I'm not grouping it here in any way. I'm just compacting it in one way, but I don't want to make it overly long. And some of you may say I've compacted it or maybe even shorted it. Local crime prevention, victim protection, sustainable crime prevention, outpatient versus inpatient resocialization, evidence-based intervention programs in the US, more cooperation in crime prevention, settling accident cost, crime prevention in the residential area, safe flats and apartments, financial incentives of preventing apartment theft or break-ins, making use of officers accompanying wagons in public transport, prevention for alcohol-induced offenses in road traffic, KfW promoted violence prevention programs in development cooperation, violence against women and their prevention internationally with the GIZ lectures, internationalization of prevention from the point of view of cost of trauma studies, cost core elements of evidence-based criminal policy. Are alternatives to hard sanctions cheaper? Witness support, qualification of young prisoners, social returns of mentoring, avoiding prison sentences, financial versus prison sentences, and youth conflict management. So it is a wide range of topics that I'm sure you are grouping together to certain areas which could then be addressed in more detail. But in total, it was 31 lectures or events that I've listed here, and that certainly doesn't cover them all. And certainly if one had managed to see and hear them all, it would have come out. But again, returning to my beginning, the fact that it was not part of the title of many other events and talks here is not just not detrimental, but rather beneficial. Summing up, we are on an interesting path at the beginning of certainly an interesting track into the future, so it's certainly worth continuing. And at the end, since there's no official speaker anymore, and since I'm the president of this Congress, it is for me to say once again thank you to Mr. Prevention Day, to Eric Marx. And to also his team, Ms. Carla Schmitz, most of all, who's pulling the ropes behind the scenes. And to a group which isn't small, but actually quite large, of volunteers who certainly have a job to do, but beyond that, put in lots of voluntary hours, who've been with us for 10, 15 years, some of them already retired, who always come in for the Prevention Congress, and of course enjoy seeing familiar faces, but also enjoy being committed to this topic. Some work in administration, some work out there with whatever needs doing. So I'm very happy that all of you contributed, very happy that all of you were here, and would like to say enjoy the remainder of the day and the Congress and this closing event. And I'm already looking forward to seeing you again next year, and I'm sure Mr. Marx will say a few words about that at the very end. Thank you.